Hi, welcome to another SEO Hangout with Josh Bachynski. That would be this frozen banana. Didn't sound right. Sorry for being away. I've been gone for weeks and weeks to Manitoba, sorry about accidentally posting that what was supposed to be a private video for family from my nephew playing the piano. My new nephew, that's what we were there for, is my wife, Melissa, who's made some videos. She's just become a godmother. And so that's why we were in Manitoba. So I apologize for being away for weeks, posting a private video, which almost got as many shares as my SEO videos and as many comments. So I'm wondering, either baby Eric is really interesting playing piano, or my SEO videos are not very interesting, or something like that. I couldn't quite figure out why did that get. Or you guys like babies or something? I don't know. Or you're just bored. I don't know what was going on, but that video almost got as many shares as my SEO video. So I will endeavor to make better SEO videos for you. Anyway, so speaking of which, to wit, I have SEO videos for you. Lots been going on in the SEO community, as you might have noticed. Panda 4 has been released. Payday Loans 2 has been released. 2. And there's been a lot of other stuff going on. And so I'm going to make a fairly long video today, and I hope later in the week I'm going to release another fairly long SEO video to make up for it. And so I might get to Panda 4 today, probably not. But I will talk about very interesting SEO stuff today, even if I don't get to Panda 4. This new tactic called buzz generation that I'm calling buzz generation, but people also call it content marketing. It's also wrapped into social and how people have been doing social lately, and it really seems to be putting on the SEO fire of really getting sites ranking. And I have a really interesting experiment that I'll get to today. So getting right to that then. Okay, so again, I have a bunch of information, so just a SEO potpourri, so I kind of there's no rhyme or reason to it, so I'll just get right to it. So on April 24th, Toba, from Searchmetrics, put out a report, and I mentioned this before, so I want to mention it again, that sites with structured data markup, with schema markup defined, tend to rank 20 to 30% better on average. Now, it could just be correlation, that the sites that have the money to bother doing the structured data also have the money to have bot links or have good content or afford good SEO or whatever it is. But I also did notice doing a couple Panda reviews. I do Panda reviews for the most part. I do penalty consultation and Panda reviews and helping people get their rankings back. That's more or less what I do. I also help people rank on a monthly basis and just provide general SEO consultation, and of course rank my own sites, a lot of affiliate sites actually, which are getting harder and harder to rank. But if you want help with any of that, before I forget, by all means contact me. My email is joshbachynski@gmail.com. If you have any SEO questions at all, if you want any SEO services, that's what I do. So you can email me at joshbachynski@gmail.com. You can also follow me at Twitter at joshbachynski. And you can watch more videos like this with free SEO information and SEO analysis and tips and tricks and leaks from Google, from my many Google contacts, my many Google besties. You can get information for free from these videos at youtube.com/jbachynski. So, speaking of some of my SEO besties, Marcus Tober, who's a cool guy who I met in Poland, he's the CEO of Searchmetrics, and they put out this report that sites with structured data markup seem to rank on 20 to 30% better. Now, that's quite a correlation. If that's just correlation, that's quite the correlation. So, with Hummingbird, sites with structured data seem to do better as well, because it might better define the data, and so Hummingbird can understand the data better and give people data that they're looking for in voice search or in some kind of more obtuse search. Not like a string-based search, but more of a thing-based search, where they want pages with XYZ, and if your structured data says you have XYZ and a bunch of other things like links and social are in place and everything, you might get a slight boost from that. They might be more apt to serve you, up to the user. So anyway, it's really difficult to tell. It could be coincidence, but sorry, my segue originally, I said my point was that I do a lot of Panda analysis and SEO reviews, and I did see some sites that you would think should be hit by Panda because they had really crappy user metrics and really people bouncing around and not really understanding the site and crappy design. But this one site in particular I'm thinking of had like about 2 or 3 dozen different structured data specifications set up. And not just the crappy RSS feed, HATM or HEntry, by the way. Don't have those. But they had, like article, good structured data set up and with no errors in Webmaster Tools. And they still seem to rank pretty well, even though you would think they should be hit by Panda. So, I don't know, coincidence? I've speculated, and John Mueller is kind of implied that structured data could be a quality signal. It could be in the Panda bad column and good column. It could be a check mark in the good column. So anyway, there's that information there. Okay. Now, on April 11th, John Mueller mentioned some interesting information. Most of it I've already covered in a previous video. If you want to go watch that, by all means, go to my YouTube channel. But there's one last thing I didn't cover last week, and it's this. That, and I mentioned this before, but it's important, so I'll mention it again. When it comes to the kind of links that they're targeting for manual actions, it's for the most part off-topic commercial links. Off-topic commercial links. Off-topic links on a topic that's not related to you or directly related to you that also have exact match keyword or highly commercial search phrase anchor text. Those are the kind of links that are obviously being bubbled up by algorithms for eyeballs, for manual people to look at, to say, are these paid links, or do they have a no follow on them? Should we penalize this site, either the site hosting the links or the site that are getting the links pointing at them? So, it's pretty simple. So just make sure that in your sidebar, your footer, or in a links page, first off, don't have a links page anymore. Don't say anywhere links on your site. Don't say sponsored links. Don't say sale links. Don't say you can buy links on the site. Definitely not in text that Google can read. And if you have links in the sidebar or anywhere, or in an image or not, that are off topic, like your site's about red sprockets and you've got a link there for web design, those are very or Herbalife Viagra or something like that. Those are very often paid links that people use and get. So those are the kinds of things they're looking for. Definitely if they're followed. So make sure they're no followed if you have any paid links on your site. And if you're gonna make money from selling links, obviously you have to be much more sneaky than that. The links would have to be editorial. They would have to have no commercial anchor text whatsoever. So whether you're buying links or selling links, these are the kind of links that it will be harder for Google to find. They have to be editorial. They have to be obviously non-commercial anchor text, something like these guys here, as opposed to buy red apples if the people are selling red apples. That kind of thing. It doesn't mean that you won't get caught, but that was obviously the first way to mitigate your risk. Okay, now, April 25th, John Mueller had another hangout, and another one, and another one. So there's a lot of interesting information, some philosophical information. A guy named Gary, who's on these hangouts often, he, one of the minions, right there, that's what he looks like, that guy right there. I'm sorry, Gary, I don't mean to compare you to minions, but you. If the shoe fits, Gary. Anyway, so he's normally complaining on these hangouts, but and he makes us cringe and scratch our eyes out. But this time he actually said something interesting, and very quickly I'll just paraphrase it. Basically, he made a point similar to moral points against Google that I've made previously. Obviously, that's why I think it's smart, because it sounds like something I would say. He said that. Basically, that Google, in rewriting sites' titles, it is not a very ethical thing for Google to do. In fact, it borders on slander. Because it represents, it doesn't allow the company to represent itself in a way that they choose. And John Mueller's response was, well, it's our website, so we can make whatever links on our website we want. And Gary's response I thought was pretty good. He said, no, I have editorial control of my website, but I can't just say Google is a bunch of, child porn, bleepity 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 bleeps. on my website and link it to you, because that's slander. So just because you own the website doesn't mean you can say whatever you want, which was essentially John Mueller's argument of why Google is allowed to change your title tags in their SERP. So anyway, that's all I'll talk about it. I thought it was a very interesting philosophical point. If you want to watch it, it was the Hangout on April 25th. Now, getting to more SEO information that was leaked in that Hangout. First one is that John Mueller mentioned that malware alone, being hacked alone, shouldn't affect your ranking. It will put up an interstitial page, a blocking page that people can't go to the site. And if the type of hack that you got was selling herbal Viagra or selling, something like that, that can definitely affect your rankings. He definitely strongly implied. But being hacked alone or having malware on your site alone won't necessarily affect your ranking. So, what's good for the caboose is good for the caboodle. I don't know what I'm saying. Also, he mentioned about internal links. It was a big tactic in 2008 or 2009. Someone got the bright idea to tell people to make a bunch of internal anchor text on their site that is, exact match keyword, highly commercial anchor text that points to other pages on their site. So, for example, I was just looking at a client's site, Mechanic in New Zealand, and they had Mechanic New Zealand or Mechanic North Shore, whatever their town was, all over their site. And it's all internal links. It's not pointing to other sites. It's all internal because they thought that this would increase their page rank or something like that. Well, whether or not that helped you back in the day, and it actually seemed to help back in 2008, it doesn't help anymore. All it does is make exact match keyword anchor text keyword stuffing in your site. All it does is spread around your page rank to pages that probably don't need it, that are not as important as other pages that you want to be telling Google, rank these pages from my site because all my internal links point at them. That's so they can tell what the important pages are. It's also called page rank sculpting. Google says not to do it, but it still works. That is an old trick from 2008, earlier actually, like 2006. That does still work, that you should be doing, is sculpting your page rank internally to point to the important pages. But don't do that from commercial anchor text. Not because that's really a problem, John Mueller says. The problem is that it's in keyword stuffing. The anchor text is considered part of the text on the page. And so you probably already have gone overboard, and especially if you have Yoast or All-in-One SEO installed for your WordPress, it already goes overboard and jams in and keyword stuffs in all kind of keywords that don't need to be there. I've said it before and I'll say it again, do not install Yoast and do not install All-in-One SEO. And yes, Yoast, if you listen to this, you can talk to me about it or tell me how to fix your stupid plugin, because maybe there's a way to do it, I don't know. But every time I install it, every time my client installs it, all it does and goes and jams in a bunch of keywords into their title attribute and their alt attribute. John Mueller has specifically said not to do this. Both do not stuff the title attribute, do not stuff the alt attribute, and do not use exact match commercial anchor text, because that's keyword stuffing, and that could definitely be a bad Panda quality signal. As I said, maybe there's some way to control that through Yoast or All-in-One, maybe, but to me, last time I looked, admittedly like a year ago, that was the default behavior. So that makes my cat frisky, and don't do it. Okay. Next, another oldie but a goodie. Someone asked John Mueller if product price was a ranking factor. This is probably coming from a Barry Schwartz article that he put out about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, that a site that was hit by Panda, or thought it was hit by Panda, changed their product price a few weeks or months before a Panda update, and then Panda released them. They didn't change any other thing at all. But it was this is back when Google was announcing the Panda releases. So Google announces a Panda release, they get hit. They change their product price. A few weeks later, Google announces another Panda release, they get out. And so they speculate that, looks like it was changing our product prices, which increased our ranking, improved our ranking. So someone asked John Mueller, is this the case? Now, John said, no, changing your product price is not going to directly affect your ranking, as you can imagine. But it he did imply that it is possible that it could change your click-through rate, it could change the happiness of people using your site, the satisfaction of people using their site. If your prices are too high, and I've seen it many times, if your prices are too high, you get what I call in retail looky-loos. They're going to look around, they don't like your prices, and they're going to bounce back to some other result in Google and use that result instead. That is definitely bad for your SEO. Definitely, I've reported on it numerous times. John Mueller's mentioned numerous times that if that happens, for whatever reason, including because your product price is too high, that is definitely bad for your SEO. At least two different algorithms, at least the CTR algorithm and at least the Panda algorithm as well. So what do I recommend? Well, I recommend probably don't put your product prices on your website. It is an old sales tactic to not put your product prices on your website so that people have to call you and you have the chance of building value and selling them on the phone, which can make better sales. Now, I understand if you don't have the sales staff to do that, or you don't want to do that, it can be a problem, but you might want to put your best product prices first, top left for English readers, because English readers read left to right. So if they're English readers or Latin readers, any readers in the Western world, they're going to read left to right, and so you want to put your best product prices up top left, so that's the first thing they see, and they don't get turned off by incredibly big or expensive prices. You might also want to put a price comparison there. Our competitors have this, we have this. You might also want to use some kind of marketing or sales design and show how you have a great price with a star around it, and it's like a sale, People love a sale. So all the marketing tricks work, all the marketing tricks should be used, and you definitely should be having the best price on there, that the first thing they see above the fold, and use whatever marketing trick you can in the book to make that price look great, including having a great price, right? Not just putting it in a yellow star thing and putting sale on top, although that doesn't hurt either. So remember, all the tricks in the book work to help you from Panda, all the call to actions, all the psychological things you can do to massage the user into believing you're a great site, believing you have a great product, and actually making a sale. Or at the very least, not clearly bouncing back to Google because there's something there they didn't like. Make sure to do that. Okay, speaking of Panda, speaking of which, John Mueller mentioned again in this Hangout on the 25th that they prefer short URLs. He's mentioned this before. For about a year he's been mentioning that they prefer short URLs, and the answer now is pretty interesting. John Mueller recently mentioned, not in this Hangout, but in a previous Hangout, referring back to a patent that Bill Slawski was kind enough to summarize for us, that the Panda algorithm does seem to be triggered on some kind of weird algorithm that they detected, that sites with X amount of links should have Y amount of brand searches. I repeat, Bill Slawski found that there was a Panda patent for the Panda algorithm released, and it talked about links, so people were confused. It said, Panda's not supposed to be about links, Panda's supposed to be about usage metrics or bad quality pages or something stupid like that. But they found, Slawski found that the patent makes sense actually when you think about it, because Google seemed to find that there's a statistical relationship between a site that has X number of links, it should also have Y number of people going into Google and looking for it, just the brand name in Google. So, for example, if I was going to use this fictitious example of Blue's Frozen Bananas from Arrested Development, of course. That's the company name, Blue's Frozen Bananas. So, if bluesfrozenbananas.com has, 2,000 links, they should have roughly, 10 people a day searching for them, or whatever it is, 10 people a month searching Blue's Frozen Banana. Not buy frozen banana, not their main keyword, but the brand name, right? And they found that there's some statistical relationship between sites that have X number of links, they should have Y number of brand searches. And that makes sense when you think about it, because Google wants to promote the kind of sites that are above board, that are like the white hat kind of branding site where they got this kind of branding where this is their name and this is the kind of site that you want to go to, not like exactmatchdomainhackswar.com, or something like, not like buyredapples.com, because clearly all they're trying to do is rank on the term buy red apples, or buy frozen bananas. and that's not a company name that, at least that's not a company name that sounds reputable. That's just a fly-by-night sounding kind of site that's just trying to sell frozen bananas. Now, not to say that they won't rank those kind of sites, although it is definitely getting harder, and those are definitely the kind of sites they're hitting with Panda and Penguin. But anyway, this Panda patent shows us part of the mechanism of how they're doing that is that, again, a site that has Y number of links should have X number of brand searches. And if it doesn't, that will trigger a quality check, it said in the algorithm, and we know that quality check is the Panda algorithm because it was a Panda patent. It named Panda in the patent. So, I've mentioned that all before. So if you want more information about that, go back and check. But John Mueller did mention again, this is one of the reasons why you want to have a short URL, because people can share it in social, people can more easily type it into the URL, and so you won't run afoul of a Panda check, or it'll be less likely you'll run afoul of a Panda check. And it'll be easier to link to it as well, and it'll be more memorable if it has a shorter URL, a shorter, catchy, well-branded URL. So if you're sending frozen bananas, Blues frozen bananas might do well for that. Now, also, just as an aside for that, Mike King, I believe it was, I think his Twitter is iPullRank, at iPullRank. He put out, he's a cool guy, and I've never met him personally, but he does put out a lot of really cool SEO experiments and stuff like that. If I recall correctly, 2 years ago or so, he did, maybe even 3 years ago now, he did put out but it was after Panda. He did put out a study he did using his programming hacksaw skills, showing how websites that have, in excess of 90 characters, their ranking drops off sharply. So there is maybe some truth that there is also maybe an algorithm that looks at this, or it could just be correlation as well. But Google, it could very well be a check mark in the bad column for Panda, that if your URL is too long as well, it could be a problem because websites, as soon as they hit 90 characters, there was a sharp drop. And so it looks very suspect in terms of that being coincidence. Okay, now, here we get into some buzz generation now. So, on May 5th, Matt Cutts, my best friend, Matt Cutts, he put out a video talking about how links are going away, which is kind of hilarious, because a few weeks previous, he put out a video saying that links aren't going anywhere anytime soon. And then a few weeks later, quite contradictorily, he put out a video on May 5th that links are going away in a few years. Okay? And how they're going to be dialing down links, and that they're now able to use things. He mentioned this, if you read between the lines, you know what he's talking about. Basically, in my opinion, he basically implied strongly or said that they're going to be using more authorship, they're going to be using more your SPEW, your search plus your world, your social relations, and the semantic relations between the pages you go to and the people you associate with on social. And through, remember, their data partners that we have. I'll talk about that in a second. And Hummingbird, and then they're going to be also using Panda usage metrics to rank sites. So they're going to be using, remember, Google has a bunch of back-end deals with data partners, like social networks like Dig, Reddit, and Disquis, which are by no means small. They used to, of course, be much bigger, but they're still pretty darn big. And they have hundreds of them. And I can send you the URL. Just do, you can find it yourself. Just do Google Data Partners. And you'll find they have back-end deals for back-end information from all these social networks. And so this is kind of how buzz generation works. And this is kind of how Google is getting into ranking sites where they can dial down links and they can dial up buzz generation to get an idea of where people are going, what people are going to. This is also the back-end information that they use for universal analytics. Now, I don't know if you heard me mention before, but universal analytics is this new thing that Google's brought out as part of Google Analytics. And it is scary. It is scary, interesting, and just scary. How they know what sites you're going to and how they know all your different demographics and the different interests that you have based on these data partnerships that they have hundreds of these sites, and they can tell also through your cookies and your cache, and if you're logged into Google, what you're doing and where you're clicking. And they're not only using this to rank websites for you personally, they're starting to use this to rank websites on certain topics, right? And how does that work? Well, I did an experiment to show how it works. And so this is my buzz generation experiment. So, my point is, before I move on to that this is how they're going to dial down links, and this is how they're going to dial up the other Hummingbird, Panda, and authorship, social relations, and things like that. Is through what I'm calling buzz generation. And so I did an experiment to try to help show this. Now, the experiment probably will be very recognizable to you because it was my article that I published about Matt Cutts. I had a private conversation with the Matt Cutts, and I published an article about what we talked about in SEO and some of my personal opinions as to how moral, or actually completely and utterly immoral, Google's recent disenfranchising of hundreds, if not thousands, of different webmasters is. Now, I'm not going to talk about any of that moral stuff. You want to look, or what we discussed in the private SEO conversation. You did leak some interesting information. You want to know about that? Watch my previous videos, especially the one just after SMX 2014, because that's when I talked to him back in April. And also that you can read the article that I wrote at a site called themoralconcept.net. That's THEMORALCONCEPT.net. Now, I'm not going to mention anything more about that, but I am going to mention that, of course, being an SEO, not only did I, of course, write an article calling out Google, trying to get them to change their ways to make it better for my clients and better for everybody. Not only that, but of course, I'm going to use it as an SEO experiment at the same time, right? So that's exactly what I did. So let me tell you how the experiment went. So, and the experiment was on this thing I'm calling buzz generation as an SEO factor, as a ranking factor. So what I did was I registered themoralconcept.net, and I made the title tag, Confessions of a Black Hat, comma, is Matt Cutts a fraud? Confessions of a Black Hat, Kings of the Internet, that was the name of the article, and then subtitle, is Matt Cutts a fraud? And I wanted to see if I can get it ranking for Confessions of a Black Hat. And actually, the query, the niche, Confessions of a Black Hat, that search term, that phrase, was actually highly competitive. Before, I have all the, I'm not going to show the screenshots on the video because I'm lazy. It's a pain in the butt to switch to them and then talk over it and edit the video later. So, but I have them all and I can show them to you if you want to see them. Before I published the article, Confessions of a Black Hat, if you check it in, like, you have a SERP overlay like the Mozbar or whatever, it was highly competitive, and the videos that were ranking there had like a PA and DA of like 50. So, but after about a week of my article being out and, things going gangbusters with it and people sharing it like crazy, and I'll get into exactly what they did there too, I started ranking number 1 for Confessions of a Black Hat. Not that I really care, but that's the name of the article, and I find it interesting that with a PA and DA of like 10 and 15, you can outrank sites that have a PA and DA of like 50 and 60 on like YouTube or whatever. Again, because of this buzz generation thing that I think is going on. So it's less about links these days and more about buzz generation. So, and of course it ranked number 1 for the moral concept as well, but that's the EMD. So that's kind of like the old EMD way of ranking for it, but it was also ranking 1 for Confessions of a Black Hat. Unfortunately, it didn't rank on the first page. Last time I checked, which was about 2 weeks ago, maybe even 3 actually, come to think of it. I wanted it also to rank for the query Matt Cutts, because I was hoping I could exploit Google's extremely aggressive query deserves diversity algorithm that seems to be quite happy, all too happy in fact, to take any negative press about someone or something and make sure if there's any negative press about someone or something that gets put up on the SERP as well when you do a search for that query. So I wanted to see if I could exploit that algorithm in a negative way by putting is Matt Cutts a fraud in the title. Unfortunately, I didn't talk about that enough. Probably in the phrase Matt Cutts probably actually shows up no times in the on page for the text of my article. So I probably didn't optimize it enough for that. It just shows up once in the title. Although I did get a bunch of shares probably with that phrase in it, is Matt Cutts a fraud? So who knows? Maybe by now it works, but maybe that was just too hard to rank for. I would probably have to more aggressively SEO it. But anyway, last time I checked 2 or 3 weeks ago, it wasn't ranking on page 1 for Matt Cutts. My article did not show up on page 1 for Matt Cutts with the title that they would have automatically selected, is Matt Cutts a fraud? ? That would have been funny if I could have got that to work, but it didn't. But anyway, it was ranking for the moral concept. And I don't really care where it's ranking. This is not obviously a bragging thing. This is an experiment thing where any result is a good result because we just want to see what happens. So it was ranking number 1 for the moral concept, which is unsurprising because that's not all that competitive, and it was exact match domain. But more interesting that it was ranking number 1 last time I checked 2 or 3 weeks ago for Confessions of a Black Hat, because that was the title of the article and that was in all the shares, and that was also in the title and in the H1. And I talked about Black Hat and this is my confession and blah, 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 blah throughout the article. So there was no exact match in the article. There was partial match in the article. Now, speaking of sharing, how well did it get shared? How much did it get shared? Well, in total, it got, last time I checked in Ahrefs, and you can check for yourself, and please let me know if you find something incredibly crazily different. But last time I checked in Ahrefs, it had no more than 53 backlinks in total from 14 domains in total. So it only had 14 referring domains. But the interesting thing is the number of social shares it got, which helped it rank. It got 234 at the time when I checked, 2 or 3 weeks ago. It had 234 Google Plus shares. It had 344 Twitter shares. It had even 127 Facebook likes and 133 Facebook shares. So, and some of the links that it did have, it was posted on inbound.org, and it was posted on Black Hat World forum. And there was some discussion about the article on both, which actually was incredibly hilarious to read, especially the Black Hat World forum, which is always incredibly hilarious to read, especially when it has to do with me. Let's just say I'm not so popular on that forum. They don't like my teeth. I'm sorry, I didn't know it was a forum about fashion. Anyway, I'm not bitter about that at all. Not one bit. Let's see how their teeth looks after I punch them in the face. So this is how I think buzz generation works and how we got it ranking for Confessions of a Black Hat. Because it had like 14 referring domains. So, and the PADA is like pathetic. It's like 5 and like 10. Compared to the PADA of the sites, like they were chock full in that SERP before I published the article. They had like a PADA of like 50 or 60. I guess because some SEO or internet marketers were trying to compete or do sales on that SERP, I imagine, which is why it was so darn competitive. But we managed to outrank them anyway with the article because of the shares. Because it was, and this is what I'm talking about, buzz generation. Buzz generation was able to rank this article. This is exactly how I think buzz generation works, and this is exactly how a lot of other people have been saying it works. I wasn't really sure. I didn't have a good experiment to prove it until now, and now I have it, and I'm like, yep, you guys are right. And I think it's even getting more powerful because I think Google's dialing down links and dialing up buzz generation or a couple other algorithms that are part of what I'm calling buzz generation. But I call it buzz generation because that makes the most sense. Like, it really is just generating buzz about your article. No follow links, just positive co-occurrence mentions, but it has to be in the right places. It has to be in the right social accounts, on the right social platforms, talking about the right, these are all people who talk about the right topics, and it has to be the right forums that are talking about the right topics. So inbound.org and Black Hat World, these are all obviously SEO forums that also talk about the ethics and legality of Google, which is exactly what my article was about. And so this was sufficient buzz generation. This was sufficient, I mean that literally, buzz generation. This was a sufficient enough amount of people talking about in the right places, talking about the right topic that either mentioned the article, had a no-follow link of the article, or a do-follow link to the article. And that all helped get that article ranking for an extremely competitive term, a SERP in which most sites have a PADA of 50 and 50. That's an extremely competitive. That's like the Moz equivalent of like a PageRank 5. That's a very competitive SERP. But we were able to outrank them because we're current. So Google thought people are probably looking for this new article because of the buzz generation, because there's a lot of buzz out there on the right sites that are on the right topic, right? So this is how the buzz generation seems to be working. It was a very interesting experiment. I don't know if it's still ranking #1 for Confessions of a Black Hat. I imagine it'll eventually taper off unless people keep going there. It did, and I did have lots of people through. You had like 10,000 unique people through the site to read the article, and it had like 200 comments on Disquis. And remember, Disquis also is one of these data partners that Google has back-end access to. So I don't think it was an accident. I think all the Disquis conversation, I think, helped tremendously. Also the Twitter shares and the Google Plus shares and the Facebook likes, which wasn't crazy. It was crazy, like 130 Facebook likes. I don't even have a Facebook account. I don't even know who on Facebook was sharing it. Who discusses SEO on Facebook? I guess it's naive on my part. I'm sure a lot of people discuss SEO on Facebook because there's tons of people on Facebook. I'm sure they're discussing everything. And maybe even Google has access to it. I mean, Rand Fishkin has speculated in the past that Google does have back-end access to Facebook through another data partner who has a deal with Facebook. So through a third party, Rand Fishkin has speculated publicly in a video that Google has back-end access to Facebook and might be able to read these signals and see what's going on. I don't know if that's true. It'd be extremely hard to ferret out that information, obviously, to prove it. Eric Eng tried to prove it, not this last SMX West, but the SMX West last year in 2013. And then Matt Cutts and he got on stage and started jibber-jabbing at each other, and yada, yada, yada. But, and then so Matt Cutts thinks he refuted that, and then Eric Eng said, yeah, maybe he did. I don't know if he really did or not. I don't know. I don't really trust the science in any SEO experiment because it's not quite that scientific if you actually read real scientific experiments. And the control mechanisms they have to go to in the peer review journal and checking and things like that. Anyway, so this is how it really seems to me that buzz generation is working. But it does definitely seem to have some teeth, buzz generation does. It does definitely seem to have some ranking benefits, pros, and it really does seem to work, even in some competitive niches. And this is exactly what I think Matt Cutts is talking about on May 5th. When he says we're going to be dialing down links. This is how they can dial down links. And it makes perfect sense when you think about it, because the problem with Google Plus is that not enough people are on it. There's a lot of people in the tech sector on it, a lot of people in finance and people that sectors that are adjacent to the tech sector, news, are on it. But not like mom and pops, or not like mom and dads, or not a lot of general people. Or especially not a lot of people in the female demographics as well. It skews to the male demographics, of course, right? Because, of course, the tech sectors are skewed to the male demographic as well. So this is a problem for Google. So the solution, and also before when they've relied on a big social network like Twitter, their deal went into the crapper with Twitter, and so they got burned, and they decided never to rely on a single social network again. So what do? Fine. They got money. They make back-end deals with hundreds and hundreds of different social networks like Disquis, Reddit, Dig, and and have algorithms to read all of those signals. And this way, these are their data partners that I'm talking about. And this way, they can dial down links and they can dial up the crawling, the information, what's going on positive co-occurrence and just mentions and whatnot on these different social networks, and that way they're relevant moving forward because no one's making links anymore, but everyone's using these social networks, and that's just going to go up, and links are just going to go down. So this is exactly what, in my opinion, this is exactly what Matt Cutts was talking about in that video. In my opinion, this is exactly how buzz generation works. I'd be happy to send you any of the screenshots from this experiment if you want to see it. And I think buzz generation is going to be the big SEO tactic for 2015, and it's pretty easy to do. It's just kind of like doing marketing, It's like getting people out there and getting them talking in different communities or talking about you, especially communities that are related to you or even semi-related to you. We've had tremendous success in even adjacent communities. I remember I have that spammy skincare affiliate that Melissa talked about, that I've talked about, and we've got crazy success. It's a spammy skincare affiliate, and you're thinking, one, what kind of cultures or groups of people online, what kind of forums can you really go to? Like cosmetic forums? Like where would you go? We didn't even do that. We went to like an adjacent, the body positive movement, which is kind of like a feminist kind of be okay with your body, kind of dieting health movement, but kind of more like be okay with your body and how you look, kind of feminist movement that talks online. It's very on various in social, in Facebook and places like this. And so we joined those kind of groups and talked in those groups, and it went crazy. It was crazy success for these customers. So it doesn't have to be directly related to your business. It can be kind of adjacently related. And the buzz generation still seems to work. Their organic went up. They actually started getting traffic from social. Their sales increased 2 or 3 times in some months. And their conversion rate went up 10%. And I think it's because people know you from there, trust you from there, and also the organic rankings went up as well. So it's kind of, there's some bleed over, obviously, so it's really hard to tell what is helping the most. Did the social help the organic ranking that boosted everything? Or I don't see why going up in organic ranking is going to increase conversions and whatnot and sales. It seems to be that, and we also got a lot of questions on social. It seems to be that people trust us now on social because they know who we are. They know, oh, that's so and so. Even though it's like a corporate logo and like the spammy skincare affiliate is the name of the accounts. So you can tell it's a business account, but they're being personable on there. It's 2014. You don't have to do your Mad Men public relations. You don't have to do your 1950s public relations where we are a company and we sell to you. He's like, no, all the companies that are doing well on social are talking like they're people, and they're interacting like they're people and getting people to trust them. It's like going to a cocktail party and not just throwing business cards at people and being that cheesy schmuck who's trying to sell everybody. You're just like, hey, I'm so-and-so, blah, 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 blah. You talk to them, and what you do and what you sell comes up naturally in the conversation. And if they're interested, then they ask you. If they're not, then they don't. But at least they're not offended. It works exactly the same way on social. And this is all part of this buzz generation and social boosting SEO. And it really is being directly tracked now by Google's algorithms, and it really does seem to work these days. And I only predict that's going to get more. So there's my SEO video for today. I want to make another SEO video later in this week where I will talk about Panda 4 and Payday Loans 2. Some very interesting information has come out about that. So I'm going to kind of dissect what's been going on, and I'll give you my best guess as to how those things are working. It is still early to make guesses about how these algorithms are working. Usually I'd like a month to pass, more data to come out. I could get my hands on more sites that have been hit by these things and see what's going on. But I think I have enough data now. I can make some educated guesses, and also some leaks that have come out from Google contacts and whatnot. I think I can make some educated guesses. So I will do that later on this week. I don't want to make the videos too long because people start complaining. But anyway, that's my SEO video for today about buzz generation. If you have any more questions about how to implement these tactics, buzz generation and social, I have tons of tips and ways that you can do that. Both do it yourself and also, hiring us to do it. Why not? Hire Blue Throated Bananas to do your SEO. So Melissa and I are always here to help you out. So again, you can contact me at joshbachynski@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at joshbachynski. And you can watch more videos about SEO for free on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/jbachynski. It's JBACH-. So for now, I wish you well in the SERPs, and I'll talk to you hopefully later in this week about Panda 4 and Payday Loans 2. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.